Welcome back, viewers. We've left at the last question was distance between IVA and bankruptcy with Mr. Shamuddin. You were finishing off that section. Do you please continue?
Yeah, I think what I was saying, having debt isn't a bad thing. What is bad is managing the debt. And I think that's the problem people have. Now, what has been said is this. Once you have debt, you should manage it. And the way to manage it is that your income should not exceed your payments, not your debt. Obviously, your debt will always exceed your income. It's the payments on those debt. Now, what then happens is this. You may have a scenario whereby you find that no matter what you do, you cannot pay your debt. So, for example, you have borrowed on a house and your mortgage payment is £750 a month and your credit card bills, but then your business takes a downturn. Yeah. You lose your job or there's a bereavement in the family, death in the family, something happens untoward which you didn't plan for. What then happens is obviously your payments exceed your income. And then what you do is obviously you then realize, well, what is my priority? Then your priority is going to be in any debt situation is to secure your house. Yeah, now, if you own a property and you have a mortgage on that property, then the first thing you should consider is paying that mortgage. And then the second thing you should consider is in long term is, well, if I can't pay the mortgage like this, shall I sell it and downsize or go into rented accommodation? Okay. Now, when you go into the question of IVA and bankruptcy, a person who has taken debt and has no asset is actually in a far stronger position with his creditors than a person who has assets. So, so what you then do is you look at your situation and you think, well, hold on, if this creditor takes me to court, what will he get? If a creditor makes you bankrupt, it actually costs him more money because if he makes you bankrupt, he has to pay a court fee. Not only has to pay a court fee, then he doesn't deal with your bankruptcy, a trustee deals with it. Once the trustee deals with the matter, they will take their cut out, they will take a government surcharge out, and then the creditor may be lucky if he gets the money. If you've got assets, then obviously he'll get it. And before a creditor, a sensible creditor makes you bankrupt, he will look, is he worth making you bankrupt? Okay. And that's one thing that they will consider. So therefore, you need to look at your situation and you need to say, well, hold on, am I in a stronger position? And that is when you, if you feel that you're in a stronger position where you have no assets, then you go to your creditor and say, well, look, don't make me bankrupt. What I'll do is I'll pay you or you enter into an IVA. And that's why when you hear some people say, well, my credit card company is only taking me 10 pence a month from me or £1 a month from me, is because the credit card company, it'll cost you more money to take you to court or make you bankrupt than to accept that money and write the debt off. So it's just like, and if you look at it in a global stage, whereby you have smaller countries who are indebted to bigger countries, and the bigger countries then have to still pay. So, for example, looking at it from a global perspective, when you heard in the news about Greece, the European Union had no choice but to give them more money when they ran out of money, because the fact of the matter is this: if they made Greece bankrupt, they're not going to get anything. So by lending them more money, they say, okay, we'll lend you more money. What that will allow you to do is try and invest, try and cut your debts, and try and sell some of your assets, and then slowly pay us the money back. Same way, when you hear debt companies or loan companies saying, look, why don't you consolidate all your debts? Come to us, consolidate your. Again, that's not a bad thing. You could go to a particular loan company, get a lower interest, or in fact pay a higher interest, but have your payments over a longer period of time, which then allows you the breathing space in order to, having
yourself in a manageable situation.
That's right, and anybody could be faced in that situation. I could be in that position one day, you could be in that position one day. If your business takes a turn for the worse, a recession happens, something happens, it can happen to anybody. There's no shame about it, in the sense that, I see it day in, day out, and the first thing I say to people is this: don't be embarrassed. The fact of the matter is, you're not in this position because you've stolen something. You're in the position because things have happened beyond your control. your business has taken a downturn, the economics have changed, the government's policy have changed. For example, you know, you could have a taxi driver earning a good living, but you could have a new company coming on who have basically disrupted the market, like Uber or Uber, as people say, or you could have a restaurant doing pizza delivery, but then another competitor comes in and does it differently, and then his income goes down. So there's no embarrassment, I would say. The first thing you do is seek professional advice. There are free advice. Whatever advice you get that, but don't be embarrassed. The other thing that people do is this. When they're in that situation, they get scared and they stop opening letters.
That's right, yeah.
And they're frightened to open letters because of the fact that they think, well, I just don't want to say it. And they think, if I just ignore it, it won't hurt me. But in the long term, it does hurt you. So what I would suggest is this. Go out there, look at your letters. If you can, look, it's easier said than done. Sitting here in a TV studio, giving advice to people is easier said than done. So don't think that tomorrow, as soon as somebody hears me today, they're going to go and say, I'm going to start a letter because Shamuddin on Business Today on NTV said to me I should do it. It'll still take time. But what I say, do it slowly. If you can't open the letters, some people will have that, get a relative to open it, get your children to open it, and say, look, just open it for me, and I'll read it tomorrow. You know, and it will happen when
take the steps.
They'll wake up in the morning and they'll ignore it and they'll just avoid the front room where they leave the letters, go to the living room or the kitchen or whatever it is. It happens. That's human nature because we as human beings can't take the pain straight away.
That's right, yeah.
So anyway, so going back to that, IVA is a good...
Very well explained, actually. I really love the way you explained that one. What's the difference between being made bankrupt and declaring yourself bankrupt?
Well, what you could do is this. If you feel that all your creditors are gathering around you and you have no way to breathe, but then nobody's going to take the step to make you bankrupt because they realize it's going to cost them money, you could go to the court and say, look, I want to declare myself bankrupt. There is advantage of being made bankrupt or being declared bankrupt. It basically means what you do is you say, full stop, that's it. I've had enough. I want to get bankrupt. I want to clear my debts. Either by not paying anybody or by paying somebody. So you declare yourself bankrupt. After 12 months, if everything is clear, you will be discharged bankrupt. You can start your life again. Now, we've all heard stories about people who have become millionaires, but along their life, they were made bankrupt at some point. Now, I know this particular person's name is very controversial at this moment in time, but Donald Trump, as nobody does, what people don't know about him, that guy was made bankrupt a number of times before he became a billionaire. So from that point of view, there are businessmen who are multimillionaires now. So what I'm trying to say is this. If you are in that situation, don't be afraid. If you have to make yourself bankrupt, then have a fresh start. It's like ending any kind of relationship.
Yeah.
Stop it, move on.
That's it. Very, very nice to explain that. You said it last 12 months bankruptcy.
Yeah, 12 months. Long as the trustee in bankruptcy is happy with all the explanations, what would happen? The process is this. Whether you declare yourself bankrupt or whether you're made bankrupt, somebody called trustee in bankruptcy will be appointed. And that person will ask you to tell them about your assets and your income and your debts. And what they will then do is do a report. If you hide assets from them, then you can be cleared, but you will be known as an undischarged bankrupt. So that's not a good idea. Okay. So after 12 months, you could then obviously start afresh and then slowly build your credit history up. But if you think, oh, I don't want to go bankrupt because my credit history will take a knocking, the fact that you can't pay your debt, it ruins your credit history anyway. Do you think anybody's going to lend you the moment? Because before people lend you money, they do a credit check on you. So if you miss payment on your credit card, if you miss payment on your mortgage, then that will be recorded and they won't give you money anyway.
It takes 1 or 2 payments to be missed, well, and that's it.
So it's a false economy for you to hide behind the fact that I don't want to get bankrupt because it'll ruin my credit history. But the other thing you also could do is this. If you, in a relationship, husband and wife, and you own the house together, but the husband is the person who is who can't pay his debt, that doesn't mean to say the wife's assets will be taken away. The trustee in bankruptcy will normally buy the assets or sell the assets to the wife.
Okay, I was going to ask you the question, the consequences of joint asset ownership in bankruptcy.
Yeah. Well, if a person is made bankrupt, it doesn't mean to say they could touch the wife's assets in the sense that they can, if it's jointly owned, but they will go to the wife and say, look, either buy your husband's assets off us or we're going to sell it and we will pay you whatever it is. But so just because the assets is joint doesn't mean to say the trustee in bankruptcy can't touch it.
Okay.
What people need to realize is this. It's her assets, but they could touch it. Some people say, well, you can't touch it because I heard, you know, if the child's underage, you can't, they can't, they can. You know, the court has a wide discretion. Just because a child lives at a house, is underage, doesn't stop a bankrupt house being repossessed by the trustee.
Okay. And is there any other alternative to bankruptcy?
Well, you've heard about the IVA, but the best alternative, I would say, is this. If you find yourself in difficulty, go and do what the big businessmen do, rich people do, and the countries do. Go and talk to your creditor and say, look, if you make me bankrupt, I ain't going to assist you. You're better off allowing me the breathing space to pay the money to you. So, first of all, is talk to them. Secondly, is obviously IVA or individual arrangements. And the final one is bankruptcy. But, you know, bankruptcy is not as bad as people think. It's a word that's been used, you know, in an embarrassing situation. But the fact is, you know, it's like a pain relief. Having bankruptcy is like having an operation to get rid of the pain forever. And IVAs and stuff like that is like paracetamol. You kill the pain in a medicine.
Seems like you're a medical doctor as well. Yeah. Well, okay. What happens to your debt after bankruptcy? I mean,
No, it clears. Any debt prior to being bankrupt, it's cleared. That's it. It will never follow you. Anything prior to that will never follow you.
Okay. Okay, another important thing you mentioned, I think that viewers need to understand, is the joint asset.
Yeah.
It's not always a disadvantage actually to have a joint asset, because your partner will still, even if you're made bankrupt, she will be paid or he will be paid.
Always, if you're married, happily married, or in a civil partnership, or in a long-term relationship and you're happy and you trust the other party, always have everything in joint names, but don't have your debts in joint. Have your debts individually if you can. Try and save your wife, in the sense that don't put, you know, some people put their wife's name on a debt. If you can avoid it, have the debt in your name, or husband's name. Sorry, I'm not trying to be sexist. Sometimes, you know, if you've got a house husband, you know, protect your husband, you know. Don't put the debts in your husband's name and vice versa,
Okay.
or your other halves.
Okay, that's a good piece of advice there. Gentlemen, do you have any advice to give to our viewers in terms of personal debt, personal loans, credit cards, what they should and should not do?
As Shambai said, right, debt is not a bad thing, but is managing the debt itself. So before you do anything, look at your income, calculate everything, your income and expense, before you do anything. And other thing is, if you do get in debt, there is advice out there. Don't stay in silent.
Okay, thank you very much. And obviously, your expense should be within your means, which is the most important thing. And that's one of the main reasons why people are getting into debt, because their expense is exceeding their actual means. Okay, viewers, I'd like to thank my guest, everyone here, Mr. Shamuddin as well. Thank you very much for being on the show. I'd like to thank yourself as well for watching. Well, viewers, I have learned a few things today from this show. And remember, you can still email us with any further questions you may have, and I promise they will be answered. Please do get in touch if you have any opinions or anything in regards to the show. We'll try and meet your requirements. Please do email us at businesstoday@ntveurope.net. Don't forget, viewers, please visit our website as well, which is www.businesstodayshow.co.uk. And finally, please do watch YouTube to see any past shows. You can just search Business Today and you'll find that. Now, viewers, there's a couple of things that I want to say to you. As always, two reminders here. When you get in debt, you become a slave. So when you get in debt, you become a slave in a way. And that was said by Jason Alexandra. And always I say, think carefully before borrowing money from a friend, because you need to decide which you need the most. Because I find that a lot of times when we borrow money from friends, we lose the friendship. Well, viewers, that's it from me today. Please do remember to tune in on next Sunday at 5 p.m. and see you next week, same time, same station. And for now, tomorrow's business is business today.